Alrighty, guys, you know what time it is. It's a time for some silly TikTok drama. This video was sent to me in the Discord, of course. $2 a month membership to access the Discord. What? You'll just have to link your YouTube to it. But it actually appealed to me because it's called The Pick Me to Boy Mom Pipeline is Real Dangerous. I have not watched this. I'm not a dirty pre-watcher, but... Excuse me, sorry. There is something interesting about this topic of conversation about boy moms, especially when it comes to girl dads. If you look up boy mom on TikTok mostly, you will generally see a bunch of people criticizing how weird the women are, the moms are, when it comes to their young boys. However, if you look up girl dad, you'll see a bunch of videos celebrating these men for being good fathers to their daughters. And to be honest with you, I think that there's something to explore when it comes to that. I don't really necessarily have a huge. I don't know what I'm not going to tell you. You know, I don't know. Maybe boy moms are weird. Maybe they have a weird relationship with their sons. I don't know. Maybe there are such low expectations for men because fathers keep leaving the homes that girl dads are like, oh, the father's there, and there's a clap festival. I don't know. Okay? But it is interesting that there's a little bit of a difference. Something to keep in mind. So let's see what we got here.
4 kids equally, but that last...
we gotta start from
I love my 4 kids equally, but that last little boy just hits different.
Getting rid of my girls.
I don't think that by itself is that big of a deal. I feel like every parent has their favorite, and their newest kid is usually like the spoiled one. So that kind of makes sense to me.
For the weekend, so I have the fave child all to myself.
I think the problem more than anything else with having a favorite child is when you announce it on TikTok. You know, have your favorite child privately. You don't need to tell anybody on social media, especially your kids, because they could see it, that they're not your favorite. That's just cruel.
Video of a mom. Wait, that's the mom? I thought it was a girlfriend. And
Ooh, kind of, hey, listen. I wish that was my mommy.
that's weird.
There's this weird trend on TikTok of these boy moms who shaming these future partners of their baby boys.
Ladies, your son is not meant to fill every masculine role in your life. He's not your guardian, your protector, your boyfriend, your boo.
Well, he could
He's
be.
your son. He's your child.
You see, pick-me women tend
true,
to
I
be
guess.
insecure, and they rely on men for their validation. So when these women have sons,
Maybe, sure. Will also say, though, that I think that people in general rely on their validations from other people, and most of that validation will come from a partner. I know that the majority of my validation as a human being comes from my wife, and I think that the majority of hers comes from me. I think that's pretty typical for a married couple, especially when you're together all the time. That's the person that has the most influence on you. And I don't think that it necessarily is bizarre for that to happen. You know, for you to look at somebody of the opposite sex and be more validated by them than anybody, or not even the opposite sex, whatever you're attracted to.
they have new men they can get validation from because their husbands failed them. And this is why they struggle so much when their
Maybe.
sons get married, because they can't stand to be second fiddle to any other woman.
Toxic moms are competitive with their daughters because they see them as competition for love and affection and attention.
My ex, he had a mom. When he turned 18 and went off to college, guess what she did? She went and got a dorm and went off to the same college. Gross.
Dear toxic
Crazy.
TikTok boy
Damn,
moms,
I'm losing.
your
I'm losing.
relationship with your son is not cute, it's not quirky, it is very weird, it's giving Sigmund Freud, and it's giving internalized misogyny. And it's also giving you low-key want to date your own son. Y'all are weird.
Maybe. I feel like some of it's overblown. I mean, I feel like it's not that deep. But hey, maybe I'm wrong.
Anyways, let's get into this video, you guys. Here I am, back at it again. My name is Salem, and welcome back to my channel.
Salem?
I know in my
Did she choose that name, bro? Okay.
last video I said I was going to be more consistent uploading. I've just been kind of really
Alright, I can't play this
busy
game anymore. This is
prioritizing
stupid.
family, which is like my favorite thing in the world. But you know what my second favorite thing is? Complaining. So the topic of family
That's actually fucking base as hell. Me too.
and motherhood and children and all of these things have definitely been on my mind a lot. Specifically, boy moms.
You are his mom, his first love.
That part's true. Your mom, like that part by itself is true. You're like, if you're a mom, you're gonna be your son's first love, and if you're a dad, you're gonna be your daughter's first love. It's not weird. You don't have to make it weird, right? Love isn't just sexual. You know, I love my mother now. My mother loves me. That's normal. Right? So like that is true. It's not false.
His first friend.
True. Probably.
Will be his first kiss.
Okay, that might be a little, well, that's a little weird the way they said it, but it is true. You will probably be your kid's first kiss because you usually will kiss your kids up to an age appropriate area. But it is a little bizarre to bring it up.
We are going to pretend we didn't hear that.
There's just something so different about raising a boy. I can't explain. Being a boy mom is the best feeling. It's truly falling in love.
I feel like, why say it like this? Like, it probably is different. I get that. You know, at least I've seen that there seems to be like, you know, there seems to be a different relationship with like a kid of the opposite sex, you'll say. Not in a weird way, you know, not in like I'm going to kiss like Tom Brady kissing your kid way. But like, you know, in my opinion, a man is expected to show their daughter like how a man should treat them and show their son how they should treat a woman. And a woman, a mother, should be teaching their son how to be treated by a woman and teach their daughter how to treat a man, right? So I don't think it's that weird when you look at it like that, but it's when you express yourself like this, when you say weird shit like it, that's when it gets kind of weird, you know?
I wish I was a boy mom. I tried 4 times, now I have 4 girls.
Hopefully they never see that you
like keep that to yourself, you know what I mean?
commented this. The reason why I'm so interested in this topic is because I don't have a brother. I have 2 older sisters. It almost felt like I grew up in like a mini matriarchy because even my older sister gave birth to like 4 girls.
Damn, you got a cursed bloodline, girl.
Before having the very first boy in our family. I think my parents did a really good job. I'm very proud of my sisters and I. But sometimes I have this thought, what if my sisters and I were all boys? Would my mom have
Well, it's 2023. That could still happen, girl. Why not?
treated us completely different or raised us completely different?
Because for some reason, it seems that some moms go absolutely feral as soon as they have a baby boy.
Their content is
Maybe.
all about being a mother of a boy.
Yeah, I think that that's just weird content creators. It's like a weird theater person. Being a boy mom by itself isn't a big deal. It's when you make content out of it and then you sensationalize it and you act weird about it. It's like, oh, I love my son a lot, you know? Oh, cool. That's really great. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to make a TikTok about it and be really weird about it. Oh, that part's a little off-putting, you know? I need to be off-putting.
And I find this concept completely crazy because of how I was raised. I will never know what it's like to have a brother or what it would have looked like for my mom to raise a boy because we just didn't have one in our family.
Damn.
But I have seen people who are very close to us or that we grew up with be boy moms, even though they don't have an Instagram or TikTok. You can be a mom and have a boy, right? But that doesn't necessarily make you a boy mom. A mom who has a boy has a normal relationship with their child that is healthy and nice and nurturing. And the way that they raise their boy is completely normal. They let their child have free range when it comes to having friends. So they're not thinking about how they're going to hate their future daughter-in-law or anything like that because they are a child and they are not yet in that phase of their life. However,
that is weird,
the boy
for sure.
mom hates any future female that is going to be even in 5 feet of their boy's proximity of breathing
That
and
is certainly
living.
weird.
These boy moms are making TikToks about their
Just making my son's girlfriend a sandwich as she eats everything in my house. Is that a girl? Is that a boy mom though? Or is that just like a mom that's like, hey, this woman, my son's girlfriend is annoying as shit. You know what I mean?
Future partners, about how they're going to hate their future daughters-in-law, how they want to badly be the first kiss of their boys. And it's
Who says that? Show me that. What?
It's giving
the fuck are
very
you talking about?
Proximity of breathing that is going
Teaching my son to cook so he's not impressed by your frozen daughter's pizza. Yeah, I see ones about see, that's the thing is I'll see dads do the same thing of like, oh, you know, paying for my daughter's really nice lunch to a place so they won't be impressed by your, you know, Applebee's or something. I've seen stuff like that, and I don't see those men get any shit taken. They're usually praised for being good fathers. That's what the part that's weird is. I feel like this specific example is not an example. Also, I haven't seen anybody say they want to be the kid's first kiss. There was that one that said that they were their kid's first kiss, which is true. It's just weird to say that out loud.
To be even in 5 feet of their boys' proximity of breathing and living. These boy moms are making TikToks about their future partner.
Again, I don't know if that one's a boy mom TikTok or if that's just like a weird, like a mom that's like, oh, I don't like my girlfriend's or my girlfriend. I don't like my son's girlfriend.
About how they're going to hate their future daughters-in-law, how they want to badly be the first kiss of their boys.
Showed me that,
and
please.
it's
I've never seen that.
very much
you haven't shown
incense vibes. I can't say the
incest?
actual word, but you guys know what I'm trying to say.
You
It's
can say
giving no boundaries. It's giving internalized misogyny. It's giving pick me. I already know that this video is gonna land.
Yeah, if those were true, I would say that's true. But I mean, I feel like you have to show me the kissing one. You just show the kissing one. I have not seen that.
Hot water, because whenever I talk about parents or parenting styles or whatever, the first thing that people always say is like, you don't have a kid, you don't get it. First of all, I don't need to have a kid to be an observer to know when behavior is wrong when it comes to an interaction of a mother and a child dynamic. Second of all, I was a kid, so thank you. And I'm here to debunk every single one of their arguments that they bring up whenever people call them out for this behavior. I'm here to talk about why it's wrong, why it's weird, why there's double standards. Yes, double standards, because they would never act this way if they had a daughter. But most
Well, no, but nobody criticizes the fathers that are like whatever. You know what I mean? Boy, girl dads. Nobody really criticizes them. So
mostly I want to talk about the danger.
when my son tells me about the cute girl in class, yeah, this one is weird. This is a weird one. Like when you're jealous of your son getting a girlfriend or something. That is weird for sure. I agree with that. So
of the pick me to toxic boy mom to monster. About the dangers of the pick me
gets humble. Okay.
to toxic.
Getting rid of my girls for the weekend so I have the favorite child all to myself. Yeah, that's weird and toxic and like inappropriate. I don't like the favorite kid thing either. Like again, you're gonna have your favorite kid. I'm gonna die. You're gonna have your favorite kid that exists, but you don't have to tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? It's just mean. Pretend it's not true.
Boy mom to monster-in-law pipeline. Okay. Yes, it is that deep.
When you're so in love with being a boy mom and suddenly realize it means you'll be some girl's mother-in-law. Yeah, that's weird.
But first, you guys know the drill. I gotta pay my bills. So here is a word from our sponsor, Jenny Kane. Oh my god, fall is finally here and I'm so
like
happy.
Jenny Craig.
I'm so done with the heat wave and I'm so ready for the cold and cozy winter, the pumpkin spice, pumpkin patches, but most importantly, my fall wardrobe. Jenny Kane is a California brand that make getting dressed way easier than it's ever been before.
All right, man. Check out Jenny Kane with whatever her thing is.
Out of specific 50% off your.
Take a look at it. Code Salem at jennykane.com.
Thanks for sticking around. We're at part 1 of this video essay, and in this section, we're going to be doing a rundown on toxic TikTok boy mom content, starting with them fighting the fictional partners of these little boys that they don't even have yet. Yeah, really weird. When your boy turns into an adult man, they have every right to bring home whoever the hell that they want, as long as they're in a happy.
Sure, I will say that fundamentally, I think it's part of any parents. I think it's part of any parents growing up or whatever, that they're going to, it's I think it's probably hard when your kids grow up and then you lose a level of connection with them as they go through different phases. I mean, all kids usually are very close to their parents when they're young, and then as they get older, they find more freedom. And I think that fundamentally the feeling of like, oh man, my kid's getting older and less attached to me, that's a fair existence. It's just that some of these boy moms take it too far.
Happy, healthy relationship. That's all that should matter. Who cares if they're eating takeout? But according to these boy moms, that is not enough.
Well, you shouldn't be eating takeout all the time. It's expensive and it's bad for you.
Teaching my son how to cook so he's not impressed by your frozen pizza daughter. Making sure my son can cook so he's not impressed by your daughter's Stouffer's lasagna. Do not let this boy mom meet Garfield. It would not be a good day for her.
Yeah, and this is, again, one of those weird things when it comes to boy moms and whatnot. Girl dads will make similar videos like taking my daughter to a really nice restaurant or something so that they're not impressed by your son's Applebee's date or something. And the comments under those are surprisingly positive. But when it comes to the girl moms or the boy moms, all of a sudden we're very toxic about it. And I think it's interesting the way that we treat boy moms versus girl dads. And like I said before, maybe part of that has to do with very low expectations on men. I don't know. Or maybe moms are just weird. I don't know.
This mother's intent isn't to genuinely teach her son basic survival skills that everyone should know. First of all, everyone should learn how to cook or else you will die. But the intention is to belittle the future woman that her son will most likely date. And you'd think as a parent, you would be grateful that your kid has enough money to simply buy any sort of food in this terrible economy, but that is not enough for these toxic boy moms. Because you see, it has nothing to do with the lasagna. They genuinely fear the day that their son becomes independent and chooses a partner because they are overly jealous and possessive.
Maybe some of them are.
And yes, there's a trend for that too. It's a song by Olivia Rodrigo, which
What does it say? What she wore on her son's wedding day. Oh, that is weird. It's a mom wearing a fucking white wedding dress. And obviously, you shouldn't wear white on somebody else's wedding day.
Jealous and possessive. And yes, there's a trend for that too. It's a song by Olivia Rodrigo, which first of all has to do with dating. It's her song Happier. There are certain lyrics that these TikTok boy moms made go viral. And let's just review the lyrics of the portion that they use. And you tell me whether it's appropriate or not to make a duet with your child.
And now I'm picking her apart. Like cutting her down will make you miss my wretched heart. But she's beautiful. She looks kind. She probably gives you butterflies. I hope you're happy, but not like how you were with me. I'm selfish, I know. I can't let you go. So find someone great, but don't find no one better.
Jester, you have done it again. Constantly raising the bar for the circus and doing it foolishly. I'd say I'm surprised, but I know who you are. I've seen it up close and personal.
They're gonna lose their baby boys to a future hoe. Even though I'm not a parent, I know how my parents got once they finally became empty nesters and I was the last one in my family to get married. Knowing
Imagine naming your kid Nestor.
that they no longer could watch over us. It was never about the fact that they were jealous or angry that our love was now going to go into someone else. So a lot of these toxic boy moms dread the day that they're no longer going to be the center of their son's attention. A lot of these signs point to emotional incense. Again, can't say the actual thing, but for those of you guys who don't know what that means,
Emotionally incestuous relationships, sure.
Here to explain it to you, where a parent heavily relies on their child for emotional and practical advice, support, and affection, also referring to an inappropriate emotional closeness. Parents who show signs of having this type of dynamic with their kid, they don't really realize that they have that going on in their head and that type of relationship with their child, but very often some of those boundaries get really blurred. But there's just something so specific about the toxic boy mom. They almost are so overprotective that they don't even let their boys have friends or crushes or anything like that. Just this morning, I ran into an Instagram reel. It says, when Latinas pick their son up from school but see a girl talking to him.
Okay.
Who was that? What do you mean? That fucking girl that you were talking to, Tony. Who else? Oh, it's because she said she liked my shoes. Because she liked your shoes? She's never seen a pair of shoes before? And what did you tell her? I just told her thanks.
Okay. I mean, again, that could be weird. I think that there's also something to be said that maybe some of it's jokes. Maybe some of it's a little bit of a joke. I think that's also something to keep in mind as well. Might be part of it. So just bringing that up.
What the hell? That's weird. Why are you mad that a little girl is talking to your kid? Like, by the way, I know so many people are like, it's for comedy, it's for comedy. Did I laugh?
Well, you don't have to laugh at it. Comedy is subjective. So, but, again, sometimes people will make jokes that are a little sensationalized, and that's kind of the joke. They might have the feeling of like, oh man, my son is growing up and got a new, getting attention from girls, and it's kind of weird for me because I'm nervous that my boy might be hurt by a woman, which could be something that a dad could also feel about his daughter. And then they make a joke out of it, like, who's that? I mean, I feel like that's somewhat normal.
I ain't laughing. OMG, yes, some girl gave my son a pink and purple bracelet and she said she was going to make him his own the next day. ... I had him take that tacky thing off and I said, let's see if she makes you one or not.
Well, that's weird as fuck for the mother to do that. That's weird.
5 days have passed and still nada. Just like I thought, wishy-washy self. Get out of here with that mess. This grown-ass woman is talking that way about a little girl.
Yeah, true.
Are you crazy? A lot of boy moms seem to be threatened by other women in general. And I do think that this has to do with a very, very deep insecurity and deep internalized misogyny and hatred for womanhood in general. But none of them can...
I don't think it's that deep necessarily. I don't think it's like, oh, this all, you know, stems from having some kind of internalized misogyny. Or, like I said before, women know... So here's my thing. I think this is a really great way to look at this. As a man, I hold men to greater account than I hold women. Because I am a man, and what it means for me to be a man means more to me. Because, again, I'm a man. When it comes to my wife holds women to a higher standard than she holds men. Because she has very little expectations of men. Right? Is it right? No, but that's how we interact with the world, and we're aware of that bias. And the reason I bring that up is because maybe some of these boy moms, maybe some of their stuff doesn't come from the fact that they want to have an emotionally incestuous relationship with their kid, more that they're protective of their son because they have a higher standard set onto other women, and they are women too, and they know that women can sometimes suck. Just like as a man, I know that some men can suck, and I would be apprehensive for my daughter. You know, I'd be worried for my daughter. So I think it's something to bring up, something to think about.
Acknowledge it because they think being a mother and that the label of being a mother should be enough to waive that feeling, basically, which is not true at all. Are you still with me? We're on part 2 of the video now. Have you ever heard of the quote that
I feel like this video is not long enough to need parts, but hey, fuck me, right? Frick me, right?
Boys are loved and daughters are raised? For some reason, boy moms kinda hate their...
Me begging for my mom to love and attention, she loves my brother more. Yeah, I feel like this is normal. My mom talked about how like she had a better relationship with her dad. Because again, women will hold other women to a higher standard, even like in family groups, you know? So I think that that's part of it.
Daughters. And that reason? Well, let's get into that. You can see these feelings from these women who suffer from internalized misogyny really come out.
I feel like it's not that deep. I don't think that all these women are suffering from internalized misogyny, but okay.
Women eventually have daughters, where daughters are considered to be fast, like, oh, you growing up way too fast. Meanwhile, boys are always babied and put on this pedestal despite doing nothing.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Women do tend to grow up faster than men. And I wonder if part of that reason is because we expect young girls to take on some of the traditional female roles in a house more than young boys. We seem to give younger girls more responsibility than we give younger boys. You know, being cooks and cleaning and learning different aspects like that. So like, yeah, there might be a level of truth to that. There just might be.
I know for a fact that this isn't everyone, obviously, but it's super common in Hispanic families where the girl is expected to almost be a second mom, clean up after everyone, cook for everyone, and the son does absolutely nothing, yet is praised time and time again by the mom. My family and I kind of have like a running joke about these types of women because we...
Just to be clear, I think that both parents uphold that type of standard as well.
Grew up with them so often and saw it so often, like this type of behavior. We call them mi hijo no moms, translates to basically, oh, my son wouldn't do that moms. Where it's these types of moms who are so delusional that they just think that their sons are these perfect angels, that whenever someone accuses their son of like, hey, I saw your kid smoking after church. Your kid just hit my kid. Why did I see your kid doing blah, 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 and this and that? And these moms...
I had the opposite problem with my mom. My mom would fucking sell me under the goddamn river sometimes. There was one time where we did this event for the Cub Scouts. This is when I was a Cub Scout. And it was so cool. We built every Cub Scout troop. We built a town out of cardboard boxes. It was really cool. And like every pack would bring their own cardboard box business. So, you know, we brought a business, and then all the kids, all the Cub Scouts would get money. It was just washers, like, you know, whatever, like little like washers. And that was our currency. And you were able to go around and you were able to buy stuff. And so we set up a booth that sold like different White Castle toys because my mom worked for White Castle and she got a big donation. And then there was another booth that did Pokemon battles. And you got a preloaded Game Boy, right? And so I did one, and the kid I was with, he's like, "Oh, you want to bet some washers?" And I'm like, "Sure." I bet some washers. And we went in there, we played the game, and his team sucked. I had like a star-studded cast. I had a Mewtwo and shit. He had like a bunch of terrible shit-ass Pokemon, and he got steamrolled. And so afterwards, like, he was literally crying because I won the bet and it was unfair. And he probably had a level of truth to it being unfair. And he didn't pay up. And I was like, whatever, not a big deal. Not even 10 minutes later, this snitch-ass bitch went and told his dad that I beat him and took all his washers. And my mom was like, and I said, "Mom, I didn't do it." And my mother said, "Just give him the washers." Like, bitch, what the fuck? You know? Like, goddamn, bro. I can never catch a goddamn break, dude. This is fucked up. Lost my goddamn washers for the day. It's ridiculous.
They're so delusional and put their sons so far on a pedestal that they're like, "Mi hijo no, my son would never do that. Mi hijo es un ángel." Meanwhile, with their daughters, their daughters could be standing there and existing, and they accuse them of, "You're sneaking out, aren't you?
Probably,
You're a whore." This all leads back to them hating women and hating themselves.
I don't think it's because they hate women and hate themselves. I don't think they hate women or themselves. I think it comes down to just like historical standards that are pressed onto women. Like, I don't think it's because they hate women. What the fuck?
These moms will jump through hoops, do double axle backflips, and land in the splits just to make sure that their kid is supposedly blameless. And yes, this even means that they will blame victims and deny believing the victims just because they cannot come to the reality that their kid...
Okay, this is where I kind of feel like this video is like weird, because now we're getting into like literal sexual assault denier. And what it sounds like to me, okay, it's this is what I'm saying. I feel like the mentality of this video is like slightly off. They're trying to say that a lot of these women have internalized misogyny, and maybe they do, but this is more of a societal conversation. Because rape apologia, which is what this comes from, I mean, we're gonna get super woke. It comes from a patriarchy, and both men and women contribute to that patriarchy, absolutely. But I feel like that context should be more understood.
And very much commit a heinous crime against others.
Because it comes off as like, oh, that's the mom is the bad person. That's the energy I'm getting here, where it's more of like the culture. The culture is bad of having these disproportionate roles placed onto women, right?
People, because they're...
Yeah, I think she just hates her mom.
So convinced that their kid isn't capable of doing such things. When I talk about the mi hijo no moms, they're the same moms who used to struggle with being pick-me's, and that perspective that they hold in their head and heart follows their kid up until adulthood. But the thing about these types of parents is that they fear the day that their kid seeks individuality and independence from them. Take a deep breath with me.
Another ad?
We have made it.
When you're so in love with being a boy mom and suddenly realize it means you'll be some girl's mother-in-law. You know what's interesting about this video, because this is weird, is that she's not in love with, well, she probably is in love with her son or loves her son, I don't know, but she's in love with being a boy mom. And that's an interesting concept of being in love with an identity to such an extent that if that identity was lost, then it's going to crumble your character or you as a person just fundamentally. And that's so interesting and destructive, right? You know, so now this person's entire validation comes from being a boy mom, not from having a kid, being a boy mom. I think it's perfectly normal or natural or okay or healthy to take a lot of your moral center or the place where your identification of being a parent. I think it's actually a wonderful, beautiful thing. If that's a very central to you as a person, you're probably going to make an excellent parent, because a parent, you understand that shifts as time goes on. But being a boy mom to me at least, that insinuates your boy is young and very dependent onto you. And once that leaves, you lose a part of yourself that is so inherent to you that it gives you a significant amount of distress. And then it's just like weird. I understand. I don't fully understand it yet, but I will one day understand what it's like to go through the phase of like your kid loving you and you being their best friend to your kid being like, fuck you, dad. Fuck you, dude. You know, and it's like, all right, I'm ready for it. You know, it is what it is. And while that might be upsetting, it's not going to be distressing for me because I'm not going to centralize my identity around being like a girl dad. I'm going to centralize my identity around being a good parent. Because for me especially, my father left my mother when she was 5 months pregnant. And he had no interest in being in my life. My mother gave him every opportunity. He had no real interest. And it's something that is sad and upsetting. But one of the things that I learned, and I never learned anything about my father in any negative way, because my mother would never talk poorly about him. But something I learned when I was about 20 years old is that my father really wanted a daughter. And that was upsetting to me because, and I could be wrong, that to me communicates that my father left my mother because he wanted a daughter so bad. And it made me feel so bad that when my wife says like, oh, I kind of want this or I kind of want that, for her, she's just like, oh, it would be cool if I had like a daughter or it'd be cool if I had a son. But for me, it almost hurts because I'm like, I don't want my kid to think I didn't want them. So I just don't care what it is. And I just want a baby. Because it just makes me sad, the thought, you know, that disappointing thought. Like you'll see some of these videos where they'll do gender reveals and the dads and moms will freak out because they had a daughter or a son. It's like, dude, fucking be happy with having a kid, you entitled fuck. Another interesting thing, though, is that like a couple of years ago, my father reached out to my mother on Facebook and tried to fuck her. So he hasn't talked to me since I was 5, but he was trying to get that wet off my mom. And all I can think of is either my dad hates me or my mom has some good puss. I don't fucking know, man.
To part 3, pick-me's, monster-in-laws, the narcissistic parent, the purposeful stagnation of man-children, and the fear of a child's independence. On the other side, there is the overly protective dad who gives the same type of energy as these toxic TikTok boy moms.
Yeah, and I don't think that those dads get anywhere near the same level of criticism.
But are girl dads. And it's the same thing. They're overly jealous, overly protective, or they don't let these girls go to social events. They don't make them have other friends. They don't let them have crushes or boyfriends. And will
Can you show me that? I've never seen that before.
Wear those cringy ass t-shirts of like, if you date my daughter, I have a shot.
Guns don't kill people. Dads with pretty dollars kill people. You like that?
A gun.
Call the police.
I think it's a little weird, but by itself, I don't care. It's kind of a joke.
We need to call the police.
Obviously, I know that there is a double standard with, you know, these moms who are boy obsessed. There's also the standard of the dad who is girl obsessed. And I'm telling you guys now, both are equally wrong. When it comes to daughter obsessed dads,
it's almost prom season, which means another round of posts by thoroughly unhinged men holding a gun next to their teen daughter and her date. That is a little bit weird. But you know what? Again, I kind of get this, though. I kind of get this one. Just like I kind of get some of the things the boy moms were saying, right? As a woman, you know how shit women are. And as a man, I know how shit men are. Women in general aren't shit. Men in general aren't shit. But then also they kind of are, right? Like I'm a man. I know how shitty men are because I was a shitty man. So I feel like for these boy moms, some of this boy mom nature comes from like them being afraid of some of the shittier aspects of women hurting their kid because they're overprotective. Just like for the boy dad or the girl dad, it's like, you know, I know how shitty men can be, so I'm going to be threatening to the man. And it kind of makes sense, especially since men do have that physical power dynamic. You know what I mean? I feel like I would be the dad. Maybe I wouldn't go this far. It's a little crazy to have a fucking gun. That's wild. Even if it is just a joke. But I'm going to be like, you know, don't upset my daughter. You better not upset my daughter, brother. Because I know men are dogs. And you want to know what else I know? I know that generally speaking, and this is absolutely true, at least in heterosexual relationships, men tend to go for women that are kind of like their mothers, and women tend to go for men that are kind of like their fathers, right? And so, like, for me, my wife and my mother have similarities. I don't want to fuck my mom, But there's like a specific role that my mom played. And like, again, she taught me how a woman's supposed to treat me. So my wife is somewhat similar to her. You know, she's a good cook. She's an excellent cook. She cleans for me. She does a lot. Like my mom, my wife's an excellent cook, right? She bakes for me. She makes dinner for me. You know, she listens to me when I'm upset. She's good. You know, she's a good wife. You know, she blows me. I'm just kidding. But I feel like, you know, there's that's a normal thing. And so the point that I'm getting at is, for me as a man, if I have a daughter, she's probably going to look for a guy that's similar to me, and I'm a fucking dog. And it took me a very long time to mature, so my daughter's probably going to date an immature fucking weirdo. So it's like, I got to make sure, you know, I'm going to have to threaten him. I'm going to have to threaten him, guy. Okay? I'm going to threaten this motherfucker. Okay? All right? So, just something to bring up.
I think we all can agree that it is just as the same as these toxic boy moms where they're projecting.
Does she make Stouffer's lasagna? Never. She's never made Stouffer's lasagna. My mom is a homemade cook.
So hard. When it comes to the dad's case, it's because they fear that their daughter is going to end up with
These girls aren't getting married. They're making virginity pledges to their dad. That's fucking bizarre, dude.
a partner who was or is exactly like him, fully aware of the type of men that they have in their own circle. What dad's case, it's because they fear that their daughter is going to end up with a partner who was or is exactly like him.
Absolutely.
Fully aware of the type of men that they have in their own circle or have met before. And how cruel and depraved they have the capability of becoming.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
And knowing that.
I'm looking forward to my daughter and her fiance visiting for the weekend. Her room is to the right and the guest room is to the left. You can see where dad will be sleeping. And yes, that is a 12-gauge shotgun. I mean, if this is weird, it might be a joke, but this is weird as fuck. Okay, if you have a fiance, you've obviously, you know, if my daughter has a fiance, I'm going to end up liking him because she's going to have picked well by that point. There's a difference between like a prom date versus your fucking like a prom date at like 18 versus your fiance at like 25. What the fuck?
That they themselves have that capability as well.
But I want to read this.
They have the capability of becoming, and knowing that they themselves have that capability.
Sorry, boys. Dad says no dating sized for a newborn. Oh, okay. Now I get it. I was confused. I see the picture now. Dad says I'm not allowed to date ever. Yeah, this shirt's not that big of a deal. It's a baby. Again, this is one of the things that's not that deep. It's just a silly thing that you just had a kid and you want to be overprotective. Like, you can't date. They're like a fucking toddler or whatever. They're not even in the realm of dating yet. You know what I mean?
Ability as well. Seeing completely innocent and simple gestures such as their daughters wanting to play and explore with makeup as them trying to be promiscuous. This also,
I mean, maybe I haven't seen that in like boy dads, but okay.
Stemming from severe internalized misogyny and sexism. When it comes to toxic mother-in-laws, it's kind of the same thing, but just a little reversed. Whereas toxic dad.
Raising boys who are obsessed with me so their future wife can't say that they are going to her side for the holiday. This one's just funny, though. This one's funny. Raising boys who are obsessed with me so their future wife can't say they're going to go to her side for the holidays. That's funny and relatable. And it's just like kind of funny because it gets a little chaotic when you're married and you have two families now. Who you're going to go to for what, right? I have like a bunch of different family parties that I would have to go to. My wife has a family party for her whole family. Then we do my mother-in-law, like just her. Then my mom as well, just my mom, you know, because they're both single. Well, they don't have our dads aren't in the picture, but anyway, you get my point. And then I have a family party for one part of my family, and then I have another family party on my side of the family for a different side of one of the sides of my family. Not my father's side. I have my mother's side, and then I have my uncle's wife's side. I know it sounds weird, but they basically like that was like an adopted family. So it's like we got like 5 holiday parties to go to. So sometimes you got to choose which one you're going to go to, and it gets a little fucking confusing. You know, it gets a little fucked up.
dads get in the way of their daughter finding.
So it's like this one's just a joke to me.
Toxic mothers almost want to replace,
like, by itself, it's not that big of a deal. If there was more, sure, but it's not that big of a deal.
the partner that their son is currently with.
The amount of horrible stories I've seen on YouTube and TikTok of these monster in-laws, they have interrupted.
This is one of the things that's funny because those stories do exist. But I think that this is an interesting conversation to have with yourself about when you constantly have things bombarded into you, how it makes you disproportionately afraid of like everything, right? If you're somebody who is really into toxic mother-in-law YouTube, and there's like so many different stories on Reddit or on TikTok, and that's feeding into you, it's making you feel like every relationship is toxic. And so when you see one of these jokes that seems generally innocuous, like the one we just saw, you're going to take that as the worst case scenario because you have a little bit of fear mongering in your brain because your algorithm is giving you what you want to consume, and a lot of times what you want to consume is something that is going to almost make you afraid of the world. In many instances, this happens across different medias all the time. This is something that happens all in our regular media, clearly on TikTok. It gets people sensationalized and it gets into their head. And I think it is a contributing factor to why people have so many mental health issues, because they're always afraid, because we're pushing fear into people's brains. I mean, look at it. Year after year, over year, the society gets safer and safer and safer. And yet every single year, people will say things used to be safer back in the past. And it's because we have social media blasting all the worst of the world into our brains. And that's why we don't really have any Halloween. So thank God I'm old enough to buy my own fucking candy, all right?
Did weddings, made their daughter-in-law's birth about.
Announced the birth of my baby on social media before I even had a chance. Oh, that's weird. That's mother-in-law did that? That is really weird.
Them. They are controlling their sons and single-handedly destroying these women's marriages just because they are still so possessive.
Yeah, you know, the sons have to be better about keeping their moms in check. I don't have that problem. My mom has very good boundaries, which is probably why my boundaries are pretty solid too. So
of their son.
I guess it's hard when you're raised by the person.
I recently saw a TikTok.
Recent number infinity why I hate mother-in-laws.
By a TikToker called Stacey's Sucks. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Vows. She wouldn't shut up or pay attention to cake cutting. I am clearly so annoyed and can't stop being distracted by her blatant obnoxiousness.
That guy looks old as fuck. What the hell? Oh, no, he doesn't.
Look how pissed I am.
You gotta tell your mom to shut the fuck up.
And a lot of the comments.
Dad, you gotta tell your mom to shut the fuck up, bro. Say, Mom, shut the fuck up. Or where's mom's husband? She probably talked his ear off. He probably fucking took his own life because she's so goddamn annoying. You know, because you gotta keep her in line. Men, keep your women in line. Women, keep your men in line. Okay.
On this TikTok was all about, why didn't your husband say something? Your husband better be defending you. This is on the husband. He's responsible of making sure he sets those boundaries with his mom.
True. Or again, the husband's father.
This is why your husband has to step up and say something.
Yeah, for sure. It can be hard because you were raised by her, so like they taught you that what she's doing is okay, right? It's fucked up, but you still have to stand up for it. You have to say something.
But the TikTok creator responded with, she literally never was like this till I got married and pregnant. And that's just
well, you are in the middle of the marriage part. Well, okay, that makes sense. If this is the first time she ever had this outburst.
such a scary thought that even if there were no signs to begin with.
I mean, just stab her, bro. Just walk over there with a knife and fucking stab her. And say, oh, I thought she was a cake. Don't do that.
Mother-in-laws can become monster-in-laws at the blink of an eye.
And although I agree with those comments, people have to remember that a lot of these monster-in-laws were once toxic boy moms who basically conditioned their boys into prioritizing them and hating their future partners.
Or and that might be true. I'm not saying it's not true. And this might be a mix of both these things. Or, again, like I said, you know, sons usually will find partners like their mom, and daughters will usually find partners like their dad. And maybe that mom is a bitch and doesn't like people like herself, which is a thing that happens. Like me, for instance, I've met people that are similar to me, and I do not like them. Okay, because I'm a fucking asshole. I'm a generally like nice guy, but I can be a little bit of a domineering presence. And so I don't know that I'm going to mix very well with somebody like me. I feel a similar way about my wife is probably going to be fine because my mother and my wife are very similar, but they are like they love each other a lot. So, you know, I might have that problem too. So maybe I'll just fucking hate. Maybe I'll just hate the guy. I don't know. But then again, I'm very respectful to authority figures. And so if my daughter, if I have a daughter, finds a guy like me, then like I'm respectful of authority figures, so he would be respectful of me, as given the fact that I would be I would be considered an authority figure. Usually your parents are authority figures. So
I'm not talking about this couple in particular, but couples in general, where the mother-in-law is just so overly involved to the point where even the husband is just like, I don't know what to do. Very often.
this is like really true, because I know somebody that has this fucking I can't say who in case they ever watch this, but I know somebody like this. It's fucking crazy. The guy, bro. Okay, listen. I'm gonna just don't tell anybody I said this, but I know somebody who not super into helping raise his kid. From what I hear, his mother-in-law's his mother is very involved, you know, and it just doesn't seem to be going particularly well. And that's fucking weird. He's a super leftist guy, but he seems to be kind of a shit husband. He got his wisdom teeth removed once, and well, of course, once. Usually, well, I got all four of my teeth out once, and you know, I get it. Take a day or two off, because I got all four of my wisdom teeth removed once, and I went back to work the next day. It was horrible. I needed to take the next day off after that. It was just a lot of recovery. But you know, he had his wisdom teeth removed, no complications, no infections. He took off of work for 2 weeks and didn't help take care of the kid. It's like when you're a parent, you're not allowed to be sick anymore, brother. You know what I mean? You know, the mother's a kind of an asshole. I'm just kind of saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is on the husband, but also very often it's because that's just how they were raised. They're like brainwashed.
Basically condition their children by
making sure my son can cook, so he's not impressed by daughter's silver salami.
making these little jokes, giving
These
it
jokes
to
are fine. I don't
stereotypes,
care. Teaching my son to cook, so he's not impressed by your
as misogyny to the point where associating negative feelings towards things that are normally viewed as positive, having crushes.
People really hate fucking Stouffer's lasagna. Jesus.
Or having girlfriends. Every opportunity that there was for the young adult male explore himself and his individuality was immediately squashed by the
This one I feel like is not that big of a deal. Just making my son's girlfriend a sandwich. She eats everything in my house. Maybe that girl's just annoying and eats everything, and maybe it's because she's like her son's mother. She's like her because, you know, again, we said that before, and maybe they're both like to eat too much. Oh, I don't know. Hey, could be
the pick me mom.
They truly feel entitled to being the center of attention of their child's life, even though it should be the exact opposite. I cannot stress this enough. Once you have a child, it is no longer about you or your feelings. Why are you as a parent?
Well, it still is. Some of it still is. It's just not to a disproportionate degree. Like your kid, you need to teach your kids to care about your feelings, just not your feelings above theirs.
Projecting your own insecurities onto your kid. To mix your own feelings of frustration, of disappointment, of desire, of whatever, that has to be completely separate than your child's feelings.
Yeah, she's fatphobic, not misogynist. True.
Individuality. They cannot intermingle. It is very.
Bro, that's actually crazy. Yeah, dude. Toxic boy moms be like, I removed my son's bottom 2 ribs so he won't be impressed by your daughter. That's fucking wild, dude. That's insane. That's I'm stealing the fuck out of that joke. I might even make that a TikTok clip. I might just take that as a TikTok clip, bro. That thing is that was funny as hell.
Very dangerous when they start to intermingle. And I'm not saying become a lifeless robot. I'm saying have a good balance of it. Your emotions should never start treading into the territory where you make your child feel as though they have to step in to meet your emotional needs. You should not be allowing your own
again, they should be sensitive to your emotions, but there needs to be a proper boundary.
Trauma and hurt to take charge of your parenting. If you feel like you have internalized misogyny and you've always had beef with women your whole life and you end up having a baby girl, you better snap the hell out of it. There is no valid excuse for this toxic boy mom behavior or the toxic girl dad behavior. It's weird.
Yeah, I will say that again, and I appreciate this video bringing up toxic girl dads as well, but very small focus of this video. And I do genuinely feel like this video is obviously more about the boy moms because there's more popularity over criticizing boy moms because there is a massive double standard between the two. And the inclusion of toxic girl dads was kind of just like hey, I can kind of say that I talked about both of them. So just saying, again, Maybe that's because dads are a little bit too absent in their kids' relationships, or excuse me, their kids' lives. But
outdated, and I'm so glad that people are finally talking about it and putting these people in their place and calling out this type of behavior. Growing up, when I saw these toxic boy moms and everything, they all came from backgrounds where their dads treated them horribly, or their moms also treated them like they were this replaceable, unlovable, like slut-shamey, very just overly sexualized their daughters, telling their daughters that they were fat, telling their daughters that they were ugly.
Yeah, it's just like Just Pearly things. She even says that her mom was really mean to her, and that's why she likes red pillars, because she doesn't respect herself. She's like said something like that.
Judging their daughters, overly just being cruel. So the only way that a lot of these women or these parents grow up, they think that that's normal, and they're like, okay, I'm just going to perpetuate that onto my kids, and they don't understand that it's not normal. And that's why this is so important for people to have these conversations. It's not a cute little trend. It's not a quirk. It's not something that's like, you'll never understand it. That's just an excuse.
Papa, I think that she's doing the same thing that you just talked about. She's harder on women because she's a woman. Okay, well, that actually might be you might have a good point there. I didn't even think about that, and I'm the one who made the point. So, it's good point. Good point.
Using that as an excuse to deflect from the valid criticism that you are facing. Maybe it's time to just swallow the reality pill and realize that you are just not that good of a parent that you thought you were. And this goes for
I'm not a parent, so that's true.
Both parents, not just these toxic TikTok boy moms. You normalizing this type of humor and behavior and these little TikTok sounds and trying to be cute and quirky with it, you are normalizing this type of behavior and relationship that is very toxic and disturbing with your child. Parents are going to see that and think that it's normal and continuously perpetuate these toxic behaviors.
True. You're going to pass these behaviors down to your kid. Very true.
That are not funny. They're not cute. And they can lead to very dire consequences if it goes unchecked. Even if you think
I'm just kidding. No, it's a good message. I'm just busting chops.
That somehow that won't be you, or that doesn't apply to you, it can eventually.
I never thought that I would be that toxic boy mom. I love my 4 kids equally, but that last little boy just hits different.
I find it
it's a little weird, but I get it.
It's so ironic that these boy moms will always try to fight back with saying, you will never know what it's like to have a boy because you don't have one. But when you do, you will finally experience full, unconditional, real love.
She might be right. I don't know. I'm not a fucking woman, bro. There might be a level of truth to that. And this is all I've seen. I could be 100% wrong. I've never seen a mother criticize toxic boy moms or boy moms in general. I've always seen younger people, mostly women, criticize boy moms. So even if boy moms do go to a level of toxicity and become toxic boy moms, the parents might kind of like, oh my God, the parents might kind of be like, I get it. I get it. That might be why you don't see as much criticism there.
And I would argue, actually, you don't love your kid. You don't.
Well, that's not true. Relax.
And you don't love your son.
Okay, relax.
And you don't love your daughter.
Relax.
If you are a pick-me or a toxic boy mom or a toxic girl dad or a monster-in-law, you do not love your child.
Relax. It's just not true. You're getting a little too crazy. Okay, they need to be better with their boundaries, and they might have a negative impact, but they love their kids.
You do not like the fact that your kid has the capability of going no contact with you. You do not like the fact that your child is going to...
Why would you want that? Why would you want your kid to go no contact with me? That'd be devastating. What?
Grow up and have their own individual traits, their own beliefs, and make their own decisions.
I think it's just that they're worried their kid's not going to need them anymore. It's going to make them sad.
Especially decisions that you don't agree
a little far.
With. If you truly loved your child, you will love them.
Listen, I understand what she's saying. My mom let me make bad choices, like my ex. But I think you're going a little too crazy. They love their kids.
Through their individuality, through them making choices.
I think that you're making them seem like evil people when they're just like people that are conditioned of their own environment, which you admitted. You even said that those toxic boy moms are the product of toxic moms themselves. And while that doesn't justify all their behavior, it brings a light to understanding the negative behavior. And I liked it when you were rolling on this. And all unironically, of all the criticisms I make, because like they said in the beginning, they love to complain. I do too. This is probably one of the most, in my opinion, intelligent content creators that I see on TikTok, or see on YouTube. And so this take here is a little disappointing because I think I agreed with like pretty much everything here. Even somebody just said that I think I'm being too hard on her because I hold men to a higher standard as a man, and I told me that my wife holds women to a higher standard, and she might just be picking this boy mom and criticizing them more because of that. So like, but this part, you lost me because you know you're wrong. That's the problem. You probably didn't put it together, but you know you're wrong. You know that everybody's a victim of their circumstances. And while I don't think it means that they don't love their kids, it's just how they were taught and raised to treat their kids.
Choices you don't agree with, and yes, that involves picking a partner
I tried to mute.
that you kind of don't like. And because you unconditionally love your child, you will unconditionally love the person that also loves them. Constantly disproving and being overly jealous and overly protective.
I'm never gonna. By the way, I'm never gonna unconditionally love my kid. My mother even told me, she said, "If you fucking murder somebody, I'll still be your mother, but I'll smack the fuck out of you." You know, do not ever tell your kid that you love them unconditionally, because that's just giving them a license to be a real piece of dog shit. All right. My mother, like I said, my mother told me if I ever did something, my mother would kick my ass if I did something wrong. You know, if I went to jail, she'd be like, I'd be your mother, but she would be mad at me. You know, don't teach your kids that it's unconditional love. There's a level of conditionality to it. You know, don't let them get too entitled. That's all I'm saying.
For your child to the point where you're trying to get your emotional needs from them and you're constantly projecting onto them, projecting your trauma onto them. You do not love your child. You love the idea.
Relax. You're not right. If they're toxic boy moms, but they're providing like shelter, food, water, love, and attention, even if it's in a toxic way, they still love their fucking kids. They're just doing it wrong. It's not easy to be a parent in general.
Your child is going to grow up and make their own decisions, whether you like it or not. And if you truly love
My mom used to hit me. That was how things were back then. I'm 33 fucking years old. And then my mom took me to therapy because I was a tough kid, very behavioral, grew up without a father, very intense ADHD, OCD. You know, I got some Tourette's. I came out of my mother's vagina. The doctor said, your kid probably has fucking Tourette's. Never got me diagnosed, but now I can't stop ticking. You know? I don't need a diagnosis. What am I going to do? I'm aware of the behavior. It's fine. Went to therapy, though, a lot. And at one point we went to a therapist and they're like, you know, they this was probably the first good therapist. It's hard to be a good therapist. And one of the things you need to do as a good therapist is if you're dealing with kids, if you're a therapist for children, guess what? You have to talk to the parents, because if your kid is exhibiting some kind of a behavioral issue, it's probably because of the parents. And part of my behavioral issues did come from that. I did have ADHD and it was tough to manage, but I also didn't have a father. So obviously a lot of my anger came from my father. And because I didn't have a father, it was hard for my mother to raise me. And sometimes she would give me corporal punishment, we'll say. And it wasn't a positive thing because I'm a tank. Hitting me is like, you know, throwing a rock at like a building. That was the first time my mother ever went to therapy and the doctor asked to talk to her. And after the first time, she stopped hitting me because the therapist was like, it's just not productive and it's not helping. And you know, that to me, that communicates. My mom always loved me. She wanted to do the best for me, but she just didn't know how. Sometimes. Overall, great mom. Provided for me, worked like 40, 50, 60 hours a week as a single mom. She did the best that she could. Very loving. Her 2 days off, she always spent with me, usually in the Cub Scouts or the Boy Scouts, or pushing me through whatever event to make me successful. Incredible woman, you know. And so, like, sometimes people just don't do what's perfect because it's impossible to be perfect. But it's how open they are to reasonable criticism, like my mother was, that defines if they're a good or bad parent. And that's why I have an excellent mother.
Boys and girls, as you say you do, then that won't be a problem and it won't cause any tension and you won't have to be out here.
It's always going to be a problem. It's weird to suggest that like you or your kids disconnecting from you isn't going to make you apprehensive because you just raised that fucking thing and you don't want them to get hurt. You know what I mean? So it's like, at the very least, understand why people would be upset.
Making TikToks of imaginary scenarios that won't even happen.
I watched Tom Dark's video. No, I don't think he mentioned me in his new video. People keep saying that. I think that he mentioned like a fake Papa Gut Twitter account. I don't have a Twitter.
Premeditating on how you're going to treat their future partners badly. That's not love. Love is unconditional. Love is kind. It's patient. Love is not selfish. It's not self-serving. Love has boundaries. Love should...
Saying that love is not selfish and then saying love has boundaries, in my opinion, are antithetical. You can't... Selfishness will create boundaries. And selfishness, at its core, is not a bad thing. People say selfishness is bad. No, it's not. Excessive selfishness, which you could call greed, is a bad thing. But selfishness is not a bad thing, right? Because being a little selfish means a boundary comes from some form of selfishness, some form of self-prioritization in a healthy way, you know? Like, for instance... I'm trying to come up with something that's not sexual, but that's the only thing that's coming. Let's say my wife loves to tickle me, and it makes her feel really good. Tickle me, and I hate it. If I just let her do that, that would be very selfless of me, but it wouldn't make me feel happy. And now I'm letting her basically hurt me without her knowing, because I didn't set a boundary, which comes from a level of selfishness. I'm just saying, I know that she probably meant like excessive selfishness, but I want to be very clear. I feel like, selfishness, boundaries, you'll set boundaries based on what you want to prioritize about yourself, which would generally be some form of selfishness. That's the only thing that I'm talking about. Something to keep in mind.
To be healthy. And I highly recommend that many people who fall into this toxic category learn that quick before they continue the cycle of making another person's life a living hell.
The Lol Cow podcast try to invite you and talk to you, or the fake Papa Gut or something like that. I'd consider it.
Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you watched this entire video, go ahead and comment down a duck emoji down below so I know that you guys watched the entire thing. And thank you so much if you did.
Can you even comment duck emoji? Not a single person commented a duck. Okay, can you comment duck emojis? Okay.
Long video, but I had a lot to say about it. Remember to like this video, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you guys.
Well, this wasn't a very long video.
PCOS. So if you're interested in.
Oh, she got PCOS. My wife does too. All right, cool video. I'll give it a like.